Hi, my name is Laura Harnish. I'm an outpatient dietitian at UPMC Presbyterian.
Hi, my name is Michelle Davies, and I'm also a registered dietitian at UPMC Presbyterian.
Today, we welcome you to join us in making a really kind of simple, heart-healthy, plant-based recipe. It's called the Thai Quinoa Salad. Something that I found in a cookbook called Run Fast, Cook Fast, Eat Slow by Olympic marathon runner Shalane Flanagan and Elise Kopecky. We've adapted it a bit, but it's pretty true to their recipe, and it really just takes about 20 minutes to prepare. So it's a nice kind of weeknight meal or something that you could just have, maybe for some lunches throughout the work.
So the first step in this recipe is really just to prepare the quinoa. So you can see here, it's already pre-cooked. But when you're making this at home, we recommend just following the package instructions on whatever quinoa you buy. It is pretty quick to make, only like 10 or 15 minutes on the stovetop. It is appropriate for gluten-free diets, and it does contain all essential amino acids, so it's a complete protein. And just a fun fact, I know a lot of people tend to confuse it as a whole grain, but it's actually a seed.
So while that's cooking, you've got, 10 minutes or so to go ahead and compile the rest of the recipe. Really, the big thing is just making the dressing. So the first thing we're going to add is some extra virgin olive oil here. And this is a nice option for adding in some heart healthy monounsaturated fats. So that's the type of fat that helps with cholesterol levels, bringing down that bad LDL type of cholesterol. So we'll start there. And then next we'll add in some lime juice, which we did squeeze from these fresh limes earlier. So if you're going to buy a fresh lime, to look for at the store, just look to make sure it's kind of heavy for its size, so it has more moisture content. It hasn't been sitting on the shelf for a long time and drying out. Add that in. We've got some reduced sodium soy sauce here. This is an item that you could swap out for tamari if you're gluten-free, because that would be an appropriate product. Or you could even try coconut aminos, which is a slightly less salty option if you're watching your sodium. It still has that nice umami flavor. And if you want to kind of kick up that Thai flavor, an option would be to add in some fish sauce, which a little goes a long way there because it is really potent in flavor and very high in sodium. So just something to consider. That was in the original recipe.
So next up for our dressing, we have a little bit of maple syrup, and this really just adds a nice kind of burst of sweetness to the dressing. So this recipe only calls for 1 tablespoon, so really not too much. And when you're shopping for your maple syrup in the grocery store, just be sure to pay close attention to the label and make sure it's all natural, 100% maple syrup, no additives, no fillers.
So we got that mixed up, so we'll set that aside then.
So now that our dressing is prepared, we can really start to assemble kind of the base of the salad. So we'll just grab the big bowl here. So first up, once your quinoa is cool, you can just toss this in. And then next up, we are going to add our kind of pre-sliced cabbage mix. So again, it's just super convenient. Although hard work is already done for you, and you get a nice mix of the cabbage and carrots, gives it really, a nice crunchy texture to the salad.
And we'll add some green onions, which they are a member of the allium family, so they're related to garlic and onions. And they're a really nice option for a salad or a garnish for any dish if you want something that's fresh and not going to really overwhelm the dish with a super powerful flavor.
So next up, you really just want to add your finely chopped herbs. So in here we have some pre-diced mint, cilantro, and basil. So we'll toss this in. But when it comes to shopping for basil in the grocery store, you really want to pick one that has a nice bright green color, pretty fragrant. You want to avoid anything that has any dark spots or wilting. And when it comes to storage, you can either store it in a plastic bag in the fridge, or you can leave it on your countertop, sitting in a little bit of water in a glass jar.
And I have found putting it in that jar of water in the fridge too, with maybe a bag over it, makes it last a lot longer. Yeah. Usually I get like a day or two out of normal basil in the half plastic, but you can really get several days, closer to a week sometimes from those herbs if they're in that water.
Yeah, definitely.
And a note about the cilantro, I do like to just note that you can use the stems of the plant. They're a little bit more sturdy. They give a nice kind of crispiness to whatever you're preparing. And since they are sturdier, you can add them in if you're sauteing or maybe making a soup or a stew, versus the actual like kind of the leaves of the cilantro, which are really nice and delicate, great for salads and garnishing.
And one more ingredient we have here is hot pepper or jalapeno. So this definitely adds a good amount of heat to your salad, but again, depending on your taste preferences, you can, either cut back or add a little bit more if you want a little bit more or less heat. Another way to reduce the heat from your jalapeno is to, when you're dicing it, just to remove all those seeds and the inner ribs. Okay.
Fun fact, one jalapeno contains all the vitamin C that you need in an entire day. So in case you're tempted to eat an entire one, there might be easier ways though to get some vitamin C.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So really, we're starting to combine, and the last step is really just adding in dressing.
Yeah. So you just want to, gently combine everything to evenly distribute.
And adding this in, the liquid ingredients will really help, wilt the cabbage a bit. So you get kind of a nice pleasant texture. So if you have time to chill it for maybe an hour before serving, that is ideal. Or even just the next day, it might even be enhanced by kind of the flavors melding and the texture kind of breaking down a little bit. But I can attest it's really good right after you make it. And I don't always have 3 different types of herbs around, and I don't want to spend the money at the store to buy all of those different herbs. So I love cilantro. I usually just go with that one. But yeah, you can kind of pick what your preference is, and it turns out nice and flavorful regardless.
Yeah.
So, and we do have our finished product here plated. So we can kind of highlight this. We reserved some of the peanuts for a garnish. We added those earlier, but just for that extra crunch and the visual, you can top it with some peanuts.
Yeah. So. And just one more thing to note, this is, a pretty decent serving size, so you can definitely stretch it out over a couple days, as it will last about 5 days in the fridge if you keep it in an airtight container.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. We hope you enjoy.